yeah, as Paul mentioned, I'm going to speak about ITOT, a cultural change. It's important to move from the confrontation to the collaboration part. So why a cultural change matters? Basically, nowadays, the digitalization improved business, but it also increased vulnerability. So we are getting data from our manufacturing sites to understand and evaluate how we can improve the process, but also that connectivity and that way of gathering the data is increasing the vulnerability space on the manufacturing sites. Also, more and more often, we're seeing cybersecurity attacks on industrial environments, and even more that every time more sophisticated. Also, another point is that I think it's a fact that most of the big companies or most of the companies, the cybersecurity is starting to build to be a strategic priority. People start thinking, same as the personal life, thinking more about cybersecurity. Companies are also doing the same on their end. That's why a collaboration between the IT and OT it's essential. Before there were like two different worlds. They don't even need to speak between themselves. But this interconnectivity, the Industry 4.0 and so on, is making that this collaboration it's more and more needed. And also because you need a collaboration, you need to understand each other. No, it's not like I speak in that side and I speak on the other one. So it's very important that both sides need to understand themselves. They need to speak the same language and try to see work together for the benefit of the cybersecurity for the plants. So in order to see what is the audience that we have, I would like to just send a poll so we can see. Yeah, take your time to answer. Okay, so I think let's give another minute. Okay, looks like everyone we are here, it's OT, from the OT cybersecurity landscape, which is good because that's the interesting part and where we need to evolve in most of the companies. And now let me send you a second pool, okay, for you guys for the OT cybersecurity is to understand a little bit inside your organization. What is the governance of the cybersecurity part? Mm-hmm. Okay. I think we can see how one people missing, but that should be fine. Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for answering the pool. We can see different maturity levels probably on the companies and how in the progress to the cybersecurity. That's fine. So let me continue. How to make the cultural change? It's something that needs to be a step by step. So it requires to be a lot of patience and listening from both sides. It's a long journey. It's not something you can do from today to tomorrow. IT and OT has been so split or so apart from each other that there is a long bridge that needs to be built. It's very important to have a common vision about cybersecurity. So we need to change our mind that from separate kingdoms to unified defense. It's not like cybersecurity is just IT stuff. It's becoming OT stuff. And it's important that we work together into the same direction. Okay, this doesn't mean, and this is important for the cultural change. It doesn't mean that because in IT they were more evolved on the cybersecurity, we're taking over the OT space, or vice versa. I see weird cases where that happened, but It's not the concept of taking over from one side to the other. It's just collaboration and working together. I think one thing, and I've been using this approach for a long time ago, is to stop speaking about the IT and OT, right? Because nowadays are becoming very together and combined. So it's more speaking about a global level concept. I like the plan ecosystem concept. There might be other similars because in that ecosystem where you have your manufacturing sites, it might be IT components, it might be pure OT components, it might be components that they have different technologies around. The concept of the cyber is regardless is the technology from one side to from the other needs to be covered in the same manner. I also believe strongly that if you are not on this roadmap, if you are not in a mature company, having a dedicated team that works in these plan ecosystems is one of the first step to help you to go through the journey. Why? Because you can have a small team of people that it works as a bridge between both worlds, as a single point of contact. So you might have people with strong knowledge of IT technologies, and you have people with the strong knowledge of OT, part of the same team, and they translate what OT demands is to the IT and vice versa, and it makes that common language across the both worlds. And also, one important concept, I think I've seen it more and more often into the IT side. That is a challenge. Is the understanding and opening the mindset that I might be the expert of one technology, and this is my technology, but I need to understand that it could be managed by someone else that is not IT or is not me, right? Or is not OT on the other side. So it's very important that technology is everywhere and we need to use everywhere, but we need to know how to use it on the specific environments. IT is one way of working and OT is a different way of working. They have different priorities, they have different criticality. So same technology used in a different way, governance in a different way, managed in a different way. That's why I think it's very important. That's where most of the failures of this cultural change is happening. Technology is there. We just need to change the mindset how to use it and be more collaborative between the two kingdoms that we need to make together. Why specific starting with a dedicated single point of contact or dedicated team? Like my experience says to me that it's always easier to have a single point of contact for all the needs from both ends. It's easier to know that you have this team there where I can ask any question regardless IT and regardless OT, better than trying to understand who is who on all the IT corporations that, depending on the size, typically are very big ones, or who is who on the OT side, because even the OT corporation might not be that big, but you might have a lot of factories, and each of them might be individual ones. So understanding who is who and sharing and asking for information, that's a hell of work. So having a single point of contact, optimize, and make this bridge between the both worlds. It's also easier to train, teach, and understand the specialty of the plan ecosystem to a dedicated team of X number of people that trying to get that knowledge spread out between the whole IT and between the whole OT. It's better to have specific knowledge in people. Of course, that people needs to spread out the cybersecurity awareness, cybersecurity training, and view to the rest, because as more people have the mindset of cybersecurity, it's going to be easier for all of us. But it's also good to have a specific team that understand the protocols from one side, the protocols from the other, what the EDR, what the antivirus, what the firewall could do, and try to translate the needs and put it together. As I say, having this single point of contact is easier to make the bridge or the collaboration between both worlds, because both of them knows where to go to ask for things. It's also easier to be on top of new requirements, issues, needs, impediments, challenge that you might face on your organizations. Because if everything goes to that single point of contact, and we've seen as an example, when we do an installation of a new architecture on the manufacturing side for a product, the first one, we design, we work together with them there. The next one that we're going to deploy the same software, same solution, it's more or less a copy paste. It has some hiccups, have some changes because machines might not be the same or the process is not the same, but you already optimize a lot of the work. And when you face a problem in one of them or have an issue in one of them, you know what could happen on the other ones, and you can anticipate things. And you can express the information to one manufacturing site in North America that this issue happened in China, and we solve it in this way. And we are confident that could fit in the North America one. And is one of the points I think is very basic to bring the trust back. When we speak about the silos before, IT and OT, they do not trust themselves. OT doesn't want IT to touch because they break things. IT doesn't want OT because they don't know anything about it, the network and those kind of things. So we need to bring that trust, and both sides needs to trust this single point of contact team, that they will transfer the needs from IT to the OT in the matter doesn't affect OT, and vice versa. So it's really important to have a trust. Once you build that trust, and it's not an easy task, then it's more easy to go through this journey of the cultural change. What the successful looks like, because we speak about doing a lot of things, putting in a lot of stuff, this team, whatever, but yeah, you run it for a year. Is this working? It's not working. How do you think the success looks like? I think it's based on my experience, you will measure this when the people awareness of cybersecurity has increased. When you go to a manufacturing site and you speak with them, and they start to design things or speaking with you questions, already thinking about that mindset of cybersecurity, for me that's a success, right? I don't need to tell them what they need to do. My concept is to leverage, to teach them how they should think about it. Obviously, when they came back the first times, you optimize, you fine tune, whatever. We have managed to get correct architectured cybersecurity designs directly from the engineers after a while of working with them, that we just say, okay, check, perfect, you done it. We agree on this. Before it was a lot of fights, a lot of discussions, but with this awareness and training and concept, they managed to say, okay, this is where we should go. Let's do it. Also, another success is a little bit what I was missing now, that you build things with cybersecurity into the design, the build, and the operations. You change your concept of putting there no cybersecurity requirements. It runs, don't touch it. If you don't want to touch it, you need to think, build, and design properly in beginning. So it's important to have that kind of mindset. Also, when you start having this dedicated team, you see that it simplifies most of the fights, most of the communication between the IT and OT collaborations. You see that the message from the IT, it goes faster and easier to the OT, and the feedback also goes back. So it's a way you can start moving the wheel, making the ball rolling. And as soon as you start, it will be slow on the beginning, but as soon as you go with, it will be faster later on. Because of that, organizations will become more resilient and competitive. So you will see that when you put all those slowly steps in, and they're baby steps, as we mentioned, you're going to see that when you have a cybersecurity incident in the IT side, you could be more comfortable on the OT side and vice versa. And you will be more resilient. You will start working to be more resilient about those things. Another lovely thing to do about this is, and maybe it's a default sentence, no, is breaking the silos or independent decisions. As you make the bridge, as you start collaborating, as this collaboration goes more fluid, feedback and all feedback, you start to see that decisions are not just making silos. This is the EDR because IT decided, or this is the level 2 infrastructure switch because OT decided, because it's what we think is much better and we prefer. If you make this collaboration, synergies will start to happen, and you start to break those silos. And again, I think the best one from the list is trust back between the both worlds. So when you start to say that someone from IT is saying something that is needed and is converted into words for the OT, and OT say, yeah, makes sense. We might need to fine tune doing it this way and the other one. And you go back to the IT and you say, yeah, we can apply this, but not as, in this straightforward. This way, both items align. We are back to trust. We are back to the, okay, those guys knows how I work, and I rely on them of things that might not be the expert, and they are the expert. So that's the trust going back. That it will make your factories more cyber secure and more resilient on the way of working. This is a little bit my key message for you on the presentation. This is the last slide. I wanted to go fast for the Q&A, hoping that there will be some questions that we could change. First message, the cultural change is a journey. It's not a project. You cannot say, I start today, this is the milestone, this is the 3 years, 4 years. No, it's a journey. I typically call it path to the moon. People who work with me knows about that expression. The moon is something is reachable, and we need to go through that one and just put the path. You might be left, right, there might be hiccups, but it's important. It's a journey to go with. Cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Okay? Everyone, what it means everyone is from the IT side, from the OT side, from the security side, for the end user side. Same cybersecurity measures that you are more and more acknowledged in your personal life, that you will not click in an email that, I didn't buy this, why they're asking me for this or the other one. We need to bring that mindset also into the cybersecurity of the companies, into the OT space. It's like, I shouldn't open an email from my HMI. Technically, it shouldn't be possible, but if it's possible, I shouldn't do it because it could leverage a problem, same as in my house. So cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Changing the mindsets enable the future of the companies. Working in silos, having still this fight about this is IT, this is OT, this is that, this is the other one, that will not bring you the future. We are moving more and more into interconnect things, industry 4.0, 5.0, EA, predictive. There is a bunch of things that technology allows them to do it. We need to change our mindsets in order to be able to accomplish that in our company. And another one, I call it the Gollum concept. No, it's like, don't think about this is my precious. Don't think about I know this technology is mine. I'm the only one who can have it, who can leverage it. No, think about sharing the knowledge. Think about learning from others. Think about you could be a reference for that technology. You can drive the technology forward and the roadmap of the technology, but that doesn't mean you, and it's as a person, as a department, as an area, as a business unit, you are the only one who can run those things. No. You can teach, you can lead the other ones to do it, but that's where the collaboration really, really goes through. It's not like this is mine because I'm the owner of it. No. Could be someone else managing. You just need to teach them, be aware how they're doing, collaborate about trying to do it in the same way across the sites. But it's important that you keep out that my precious concept. And that's the hardest part. I think I've seen in the experience that is like, and that's why I mentioned before, no, the IT people typically, and I've been an IT guy. I'm an IT guy actually, but that's the mentality. It's like, no, the network just can be managed by IT. Why? Network is the network. You have hiccups. You have specific things that needs to be in the OT and the IT, but doesn't mean everything needs to be managed by IT or everything needs to be managed by OT. It could be a central agreement team, this dedicated team that we speak about it, that make that link. When you are mature enough, you will see where you will end up. It's a roadmap to go through the process. And I think I'm done. I try to be quick, so I hope we have some questions. Thank you very much for being here, and just let me know if there are questions.
Yep, we do have we've got two. The first one, Andres, what has been your biggest cultural or organizational challenge in driving IT and OT alignment, and how did you overcome it?
I think the main one is that, as I mentioned, is the trust, and I can explain you one example. In one of my companies, we were asked as IT infrastructure to go into the factories because it was a little bit mess, and they got issues, cybersecurity incidents, and so on. And they say, yeah, we need you guys to run this. And we say, yeah, no problem, let's go. And we went there and we went into the IT mode, into the OT space. Guess what? We collapse, we crash, we close the factory for a small amount of time because it was not the right mindset of doing it. And then we realize about, okay, if we go in this way, the second time they would say, don't touch us anymore. So we say, okay, let's listen to them. Let's understand what are the needs. Let's transform our needs. We are not going to implement the same thing as the IT into the OT. We need to understand how we can accomplish those, and we win the trust back. And that was a lot of effort. It was a multinational company. I was traveling a lot to different factories. Visiting the factory is key to being the trust. No one in the factory will trust someone 1,000 kilometers away that hasn't never been in a factory shop floor. You need to know what's there. You need to know. They need to see you. They need to explain you. You need to listen. You need to get all of that in order to bring back the trust for them.
Excellent. The second question, how do you deal with folks who tell you, quote, you don't know enough, stay out of OT, end quote, they don't give you the time of day? So when there's, and I think you kind of mentioned that on the front end, and kind of convergence versus confrontation, right?
Yeah.
But how do we get the asset or process owners, because you just were answering trust, if we come from the IT side or in their eyes don't know enough?
Yeah, I typically try to split in different layers what the definition of IT and OT, and that's why I start thinking this is the plan ecosystem thing. So typically the way of accessing to them is starting with the infrastructure level, right? When you speak about the infrastructure level, switches, firewalls, servers, databases, those kind of things, most of the OT people might not say this is pure OT. They're thinking more about the PLCs, the SCADA systems, and so on. So we start listening to them. That's the first thing. Listen to them. You will hear that one. I've been having fights even with vendors about, you don't know anything. This is okay, guys. I know. I always say leave the expertise to the experts. And I'm going to enter into the PLC coding, into the PLC, machinery, DCS, HMIs, design of things, and the functional workflow. But I am here to help you about the network, about the segmentation, about the firewalling. I'm here to justify to your vendors that when they say do not put a firewall, because most of the time it's not the vendor, it's the integrator of the vendor who hasn't done it. I'm here to defend. I'm on the same side, on the same boat as you, right? We work on the same company. We're for the same aim, and I will help you to go with this one. And again, it's kind of a fight. Sometimes you need to leave a little bit on one side, and then when they see that it's not that problematic and they start winning that trust, then you go deeper and deeper and deeper on it.
Excellent.
I don't know if that answered the questions.
I think so. Yeah. Just checking the chat, make sure nothing was in there. It doesn't look like it. And we only had those two questions. Yeah. So
Okay.
if there aren't any other questions, I want to thank Andres, yourself, as well as all the attendees for taking in this particular session. I think it's great. Obviously, ITOT Convergence ends up on social media or LinkedIn every day, and it can be a very polarizing topic with folks on either side of the camp. But I think it is that whole idea of we have to come together, and it has to be a convergence of not only technologies, process, and assets, but also people. And we have to come together as people. So thank you again for a great presentation.